So, good morning once again. So, we are going to look at in this period an important part of our tire dynamics part is that we are going to look at the tire model. There are many theories that are available in literature and different textbooks to explain how this tractive force has been developed at the tire rod interaction when you are applied a driving torque. So, but still, the researchers are working on it to exactly match in real time what would be the force that is coming to get it through a mathematical equation. So, right from a very old theory, one that we are going to look at today is what is named after the scientist Julian. So, its theory. So, Julian's tire model. And you see, till today, there are many tire models available commercially for OEMs to do their vehicle dynamics simulation. So one such model is a magic formula model developed by Hans Pajeka, and we are going to look at in our tire dynamics not only this Julian's tire model, also we look at Hans Pajeka magic formula model, not of its latest version as it is involved a lot of empirical constants and their developments, but to feel what is that magic formula. So that is also we are going to look at in our model in our classes. So today's class is aiming at this period for understanding an important and fundamental base theoretical approach proposed by Julian and the name called the Julian's tire model. Right? So what is that important assumption of the Julian tire model? Julian tire model treat your tire wheel or your tire as an elastic band. So elastic band, we put it in hand, right? Elastic band like that. You see that entire thread, whatever that we have. That means what cap or base thread that we looked at in our tire construction, and that entire carcass or entire tire wheel assembly is represented now as an elastic band. That's what he has proposed, and that elastic band has to be under tension because there are cards, reflect it. It's not a elastic band means there is no, it is not flexing. So it will be a band and it will have necessary tension, which would be an equivalent to that of your inflated tire, physical tire in your vehicle. So this elastic band, when it is loaded, it will have on the road surface a contact which would be a rectangular contact. It's easy to imagine, right? It's a rectangular contact surface. So when it is not under operation, when it is not driven, then you see that normal pressure is uniform, it will be acting through the center. But when it is driven, then what would happen? You would have all the scenarios what we have been just discussing in the previous period would come into picture. So I'm going to start this lecture sharing my slide, and the starting point is an important definition that we have seen, that longitudinal slip. So that's a necessary event for development of the tractive force at the tire contact patch. So let's start from that point the next lecture for a Julian's tire model to understand. So let me share this for that. Are you able to see this Active Inspire board, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is lecture number 3, and today it's 10/2/2021. We're going to look at an important tire model called the Julian tire model. Julian's tire model. All right. So let's look at for that this. So this picture is what just now we have looked at. So let me just extend these line and see this portion as a contact patch. and that's rectangle in shape. That's rectangle in shape. So the length of this contact patch, let me define as LT. Length of this contact patch is LT. So when this tire is not rolling, omega is 0, V is 0, there is no torque applied. The distribution of the pressure is uniform because it is an elastic rubber band. But when it is rolling, what would happen? When it is rolling, you would have these edges with the low pressure, and then your pressure distribution would be something changes like that. So on the edges, you would see the pressure is less, and in the center, you'll have more pressure, and so on. And the resultant pressure during driving torque is applied, or even driving torque is not applied. As this start rolling, the uniform pressure distribution of your rectangle is now going to change as if its resultant is acting at a distance s in front of that, and that's what is manifestation of rolling resistant force that we have looked at in the previous lecture. So now for this, let's consider this rectangular contact patch. So what's happening in this, all are required, so I just have taken it. And the width of this rectangular contact patch is, say, small b. That's width of the tire, right? Small b. And you see now here, this W is what is driving torque. So when you apply a driving torque, what is happening is the front of the contact patch is under compression, and that compression is constant in the contact patch. Compression is constant in the contact patch. So the epsilon value is not changing in this. And here also you have deformation, compression for the smaller portion of the length. At that length would be considered to be say lambda. So lambda times epsilon would give me a deformation, deflection of tire under compression during driving torque applied in front of the contact patch, and inside the contact patch I would have that's dictated by again epsilon. So if I consider though I said that the tire axis system is fixed at the center of the contact patch, for convenient now let us look at the contact patch, an element at a distance x from the front of the contact patch. See, this is front of the contact patch, this is the trailing end of the contact patch. I consider an element in this element at a distance x from the front of the contact patch. This elemental length is what is dx, right? This is dx. So elemental length of the tread band at a distance x from the front of the contact patch I consider for our study. So if I make this all, I would be able to develop my necessary equation. So before that, let us just define what is this longitudinal slip, and that is referred by letter I. So longitudinal slip is referred because of this physical phenomena. Due to this compression, the equivalent translatory motion is lesser than that of the one which would be achieved by a condition of the tire under free rolling condition. So if that is so, you are defining this I as this way. So this I would be equal to, you will have your linear velocity of free rolling tire is more than that of the driving torque applied scenario. So if that is so, I would have this minus linear velocity by r omega. When I write this, this is what is the definition of I. So I could say this is 1 minus v by r omega. So what is this r? R is the free rolling radius. Free rolling radius of the tire, and omega is an angular velocity of the tire. So v is the linear velocity of center of the tire. So now there is a slip. So your distance covered is what r omega minus v, right? This difference by this r omega is what is defining your longitudinal slip, and this would be always represented by percentage into 100 into 100%. So this is what is the definition of longitudinal slip. So interesting aspect here. So let's call this equation as 1.5. I just number this as whatever the number is there in the Wong book so that you can always refer back. So what is an interesting aspect here is I can have a scenario where this V is 0. V equals 0, right? Where it can be that if V is 0 but omega is not, then what is the scenario? You would have this 0 and you have your I value is equal to 100%. So what do you mean by this? Longitudinal slip is 100% referring to wheel spinning. So your wheel omega is there, wheel is rotating, but there is no translation, and that is what is called 100% slip, right? 100% slip. And when it can happen, you see the wheels on the icy surface. So it's not on a rough surface, ice surface. So you start your vehicle, wheels are spinning there itself, or it is on the sand. So it's not allowing you to go forward, it's spinning there itself. So, and that is what is called a 100% slip. So if you have 100% slip, you will not have your requirement of tractive force, right? So what is that is required? You require I value, but it's not reached to 100%. So what is the variation of the tractive effort that would be developed here? See this for the variation of I. That's what first we should understand. So that let me just put it in this graph. So let me take I on this axis, horizontal axis, and the tractive effort on the vertical axis. You see that it will be 0 when I is not developed. So when your driving torque is applied, you have I comes into picture, and that will vary linearly for some time, and then the variation is non-linear, and it will go to a peak value, and then it falls rapidly. So this is what is the variation. So this point is what is equal to 100%. That what is that we say. So here it will be spinning. So if it is spinning here, what is this? It is after this point, it is an unstable state, and here you will have the value of your tractive force given by mu s times W. What is this mu s? Mu s is coefficient of static friction. Static friction. You know, dry friction, Coulomb friction, already in rigid body mechanics course you have studied. So you take a block and then keep it on a platform, you rotate the platform, that block slides its own. So you see there is a maximum friction force that's developed, and that would be determined by the normal times the coefficient of static friction. So that means what? The block is sliding. It's not turning. Block is sliding. So tire is rolling. So rolling and sliding should be understood. So when wheel is locking, the tire skid is what is called sliding, right? But wheel is rolling, there is no sliding. So the rolling takes place till this point. Say this point is B, and also I differentiate this point from O between another point, say A, and till this point this OA is linear. After that it is non-linear and it goes here. So I have some value corresponding to this I, which is I max, maximum value of I slip, and I also have here a value which is critical, I call it, critical value. So what is important here is that we have to see that how do I get this variation. So I always require to operate my vehicle in this zone, so that I would be able to have my maximum traction that is possible to get developed for the application of driving torque. So the same torque is applied, but if my I value is less than this IC value, what would happen? I get minimum value. So I require to have my value here. I also require not to go to this state, 100% state. So what is that I have to do? I should have a control on this traction. That's what this traction control unit nowadays vehicles are employed, which is also been manipulation of your ABS. Anti-lock brake system. So that's combination electronics control system. We would discuss that all in detail in our forthcoming classes. But at the moment, you just see that this is possible to have your maximum tractive force. So what is this value corresponding to? So this value is corresponding to mu p times W. So what is this mu p? This is called coefficient of road adhesion. So there should not be confusion between coefficient of road adhesion and coefficient of static friction, right? So coefficient of static friction, when it comes when there is no rolling and then it is sliding. So what would happen? This slip is a necessary phenomena, physical phenomena that has to happen. That would happen in a pneumatic tire, rubber material because of this compression. It will not happen if it is of rigid wheels. If I put a steel wheel on my passenger car, what will happen? I would not have this. So there is no deformation appreciable. There is no compression. I would not be able to get this. That's why you see locomotive wheels are on rails, and that wheels are not suitable for a passenger cars. It's bulky, and then you would not be able to get. So the slip phenomena to develop, what is required is I require to have a pneumatic tire. That's an important reason why pneumatic tires are preferred in most of the ground vehicles. So it will be under deflection, it will undergo compression whenever driving torque is applied. So this phenomena called slip will take place, and we define what is the slip, and you get your generation of force like this. So now what is the task? Why this class is model, Julian models that we are going to see. What is the equation that can fit best for this? So that I can have those equation in my vehicle model whenever I need to study about this performance of a vehicle, giving the tractive force variation. So that is what is our class objective for the remaining time of this period. So is that clear? Any doubt at this point of time? So this is equation 1.5. You can also have another definition given by SAE. SAE definition and some of the literature that you see. I just write the equation, we will not discuss that more. And we are going to follow this equation 1.5 only. But however, since that is also there, we will define. So what is that definition is? It is longitudinal slip is defined as the ratio of longitudinal slip velocity to the spin velocity of the straight free rolling tire. So the equation only I'll write. So that would be R omega minus V by V, right, into 100. So what is the difference that we just will see? So here, if I have my V0, so this is what is this going to be? R omega by V minus 1 into 100%. So what is the difference between this? If V is 0, but omega still exists, it is going to be infinity. So infinity is what is there instead of 100%. We will say that slip goes to infinity when you have wheel spinning. So that is what is the definition here, right? There can also be in another situation. What is that situation? I can have my V, but omega is 0. When it can happen? When can it happen? If this point is reached and ice keeps increasing, what will happen? There is a sudden fall, rapid fall, and your tractive force is equal to sliding condition. So the rolling stops and then vehicle slides. So what is happening then? This contact patch has got adhered to the ground, but that adhesion is not permanent. So the part of the contact patch is sliding. When that part of the contact patch sliding is disappears, then entire contact patch is sliding. That's called the sliding, not slipping. Sliding, there is no rotation, so the sliding is what is going to be arbitrary. It is not going to be constrained, so you would have unstable state, right? So what is that scenario? V exists, V will translate, but omega 0. So here omega 0, when I put, what is that? It says it is again infinity. So when omega 0 V exists, it is infinity. So I would say that that condition would be infinity here by definition. So when I apply braking torque, it is different. So at that time, I define something called the skid. You will see that in the next period. So now this is the definition of SAE definition of slip. So let me call that as 1.6 equation number. But we are going to look at this only. Always remember this definition: R omega minus V by R omega, and this picture, right? So with that, let us now go into deriving the expression. So what is this Julien's tire model? Julien's model. So what are the basic assumption? First assumption is it is elastic band. Elastic band. Next, what you understand is the contact patch is rectangle. Contact patch is rectangle, and the normal pressure is uniformly distributed for a non-rolling tire. Next, what is that you understand? Point number 3 is this contact patch can be divided. The contact patch can be divided into two zones. One is adhesion region. Another one is sliding region. Another one is sliding region. So why do you have this contact patch? To have these two regions in a rectangular patch is what we have been discussing here. So look at this variation. So if you look at from point O to A, it is linear. So when it is linear, I have my contact patches completely on the ground. But here it has become non-linear is because beyond this point A, what would happen? The rear end of the contact patch would be start sliding from the on the ground, but it is not progressive immediately. So as this sliding portion zone is progressing towards the leading end, then you see this point B is approaches. But the entire contact patch is occupied by sliding alone. All of a sudden from this point B, it falls down to a value of mu SW where rolling stops and skidding takes place. And that is an arbitrary skidding and leading to an unstable state. So that's what is happening with this I definition. And that's what is exactly experienced in the contact patch as you move from point O, A, B and to this point C, right? So that's what you should understand. So you would have, and that is why this rectangle contact patch would be having adhesion zone as well as sliding zone. So this adhesion region depends on what and sliding region depends on what in the tire. So adhesion zone depends on the elastic property of the tire. Elastic property of the tire. Whereas sliding zone depends upon what? Sliding zone should be depending upon the adhesive nature, adhesive property of the tire. Right? So this is an important point. So now with this background, now let us define in our tire model, let epsilon is the compressive strain due to compression. Strain due to compression in the tread due to application of driving torque, right? This is for tractive effort. Tractive effort is achieved how? By application of driving torque. So the moment I apply the driving torque, the pressure distribution is not uniform. That would be varying as we have looked at in the previous diagram. And you would also see there is different zones in the contact patch. And as the compression takes place in front of the contact patch and retained during the progression in the contact, and there is a strain called compressive strain given by epsilon. Why is this? Because I am going to write down what is the elastic deformation. What is the elastic deformation that comes? So elastic deformation, I would call it as E, right? So what is this elastic deformation? It is the total elastic deformation because of driving torque applied. What would be my elastic deformation? It is stretch or compression. So if I assume that the entire thread is made as this, then the portion in front of contact patch lambda as well as contact patch length is under compression. So that value how do I get my deflection? If I get my deflection, I can get a force. That's an idea which is base of strength of material. So E will be obtained by the one which we consider E naught, which is elastic deformation in front of the contact patch, plus an elastic deformation of the element that I considered at a distance x from the contact patch, right? So this is my contact patch. I consider a distance x, an element dx, right? Element dx. This is at a distance x, element dx. So this element would undergo the length of, see the length of the contact patch, till this x distance into strain is what is the elastic deformation. So when x is 0, it's only E naught. When x is progressing, as this E strain is constant in the contact patch, you would have x into epsilon. So x is replaced by what for the total deformation by LT. So LT into epsilon is what is total deformation, elastic deformation of the contact patch. So what is this is the contact patch, right? So I would write my total elastic deformation is given by this. Let us call this equation as 1.7. If that is assumed, and in this, you know, what is this E naught? It is E naught is the length of the portion in front of the contact patch, and this is proportional to strain. So I just put it in this way. So if this is so, I can write again this E as substituting this E naught in this. So I'll have lambda plus x into epsilon is what is my 1.8 equation, which is my elastic deformation, right? So now I can write my expression of force per unit length. So see, look at here. It is what is the elemental force at a distance x, whatever element that I consider. Attractive force developed by this element per unit length. So that would be now obtained by simply multiplication of small kt, this small kt, times this E. So what is this small kt to be defined? This should be defined as tangential stiffness. Tangential stiffness of the tire multiplied by elastic deformation would give me this. So here it is force per unit length. So if it is force per unit length, what is the unit of this tangential stiffness? It should be Newton per or kilonewton per meter square per unit area, and I multiply by deformation of this. So I would be getting deformation meters. So I would get the kilonewton per meter, which is force per meter. So this is what is an important definition. So I would rewrite this as small kt into E. I will substitute lambda plus x into epsilon. So this equation is my equation number 1.9. Right? So what I can do now further, this equation I can integrate and get my expression. So there are values of this kt in practical time. This kt value can be 3930 kilonewton per meter square for a heavy truck tires, for a radial tires. The same value is slightly more for a bias tire, 6 kilonewton per meter square for a bias tire, heavy truck tires. This is some example values of the small kt, right? So you have now an expression in a differential form, dfx by dx, which is force per unit length of the element considered at a distance x from the front of the contact patch. And this is simple strength of material approach, that you know the stiffness, multiply that by deformation, and the deformation is what is responsible for generation of your longitudinal force. So now what is my value of fx? So fx would be Now integrate this from 0 to x. I wanted to get what is the force for the length x. So fx. So I put this kt into lambda plus x epsilon dx. And if I do the simple integration, that would result in kt lambda x epsilon times 1 plus x by 2 lambda. So that's going to be my equation 1.10. So this is the tractive force that I have it here. So now this is not a final version of our equation. Why? Because it is only for the length x, right? So I have to get it for an entire length. So what I can do, I can replace this x by lt, so I would have. But I have to fit this equation to my graph. That's what is very important, right? So that's where we have some more understanding or additional discussion that would be as follows. Do you get me? Now, this is not our final figure of our force value, and we have to do some more additional understanding in this so that we can map our understanding with the nonlinear zone. After A to B, how does it come, or what would happen beyond B in the graph that we have just now plotted and understood. So let us now look at for that purpose this. There is no sliding. So let us first look at what is that. This is our graph. A, then B, then it is false. So this is point B, this is point A. So what is happening from 0 to A from this equation that I have to see? So this point is what is critical value of C. So anything below this would make your vehicle have a lesser potential traction develop. So it's very clear to understand. See, when we are walking, our foot is completely in contact with the ground. But you see that you are under race, you have to run. Do you run with your complete foot contact on the road? Then you would not cover, you would not be chasing your friends. So you see that all athletes or runners, they go on their toes. So the entire foot contact is not on the ground. This is a similar condition for the tire as well. So if the entire contact patch is there on the road, what would happen is it cannot have its maximum potential of developing its mu p times W, because W is the load on the tire and mu p is the road adhesion coefficient. This is what is maximum possible, whatever may be the torque that is given. So there is something torque, and this whichever is minimum will be always there effective. We will see that all in detail, very interesting later on. So now since I require to go into this region, I have to define something called a characteristic length. I'm going to define something called what is called a characteristic length. So what is characteristic length? Let us call that as the LC. So characteristic length is the one which would give the part of the contact patch which is adhered, right? So if I have my tire contact patch, I know this is of length LT. And where is this LC? So LC can be now entire till here if it is below A point. So the LC is what is LT or greater than LT. So LC is something imaginary. There is no physical measure, but LC is what is going to give you the two different separate zones in the contact patch. So if I say now this is my LC, you would say that this portion is adhesion region and this portion is sliding region. So when I say there is sliding part, where is that corresponding fx in the graph? If I ask, if you answer that is in below A, then you are wrong. So somewhere maybe here. So what would happen? This LC will be gradually decreasing as the driving torque is there and traction control system is there that extract your maximum tractive force. This LC will come and it will be just near to the front of the contact patch here. At that time, you would be operating it over here, right? Or it is just LC is 0. LC is 0 means complete adhesion zone. That means it's just beyond this point B. But when you go beyond this point B, what would happen? There can be a scenario that if you do not have a control strategies in your vehicle, traction control system, you would not be able to manipulate your traction value, and no, this would fall suddenly, and then it would go to 100% skid in no time. 100% sleep in no time. So that's what is very important. So this is what is now defining what is characteristic length. So if I have understood this, I can now look at this force per unit length, whatever I have got can be dictated. So this dfx by dx, which is equal to kt into lambda plus x into epsilon, should be less than or equal to a value. What is that value? Is mu p b p. What is this BP? B is width of this contact patch. P is the normal pressure. P is the normal pressure. Resultant normal pressure. So normal pressure into this B, if I multiply, what is that I get is load per unit length into P. So as long as this value what I calculate is lesser than this, I would be having my point below this. So this equation, let us call that as 1.11. Right? You understand this. No sliding will take place between tread and the ground if the following condition is satisfied. So as long as I have this condition, this force per unit length is less than or equal to this, no sliding would take place, right? So that defines, this implies what? The point at a distance of x behind the front of the contact point is in adhesion region, then x must be less than the characteristic length. Then this x whatever that I considered should be less than that, because this is for length x. So I consider distance x, and that x must be less than LC. So that's where we are able to define now, or get the value for this characteristic length. So if I just work out this and take it on this side and get my value for x, so what is that I'll get? I'll retain this kt x epsilon on one side, kt x epsilon, and take this mu p p b, and this goes on that side, so it's kt lambda epsilon here. Then kt epsilon, if I take it out, x should be less than or equal to mu p pb by kt x, sorry, epsilon, minus kt lambda epsilon by kt epsilon. So this goes off, and I get here this x is less than or equal to mu p pb by kt epsilon minus lambda. And I can say that if what is normal load, it's mu p p b into LT. My entire contact length if I put, and this value is going to be W. So mu P W can be mu P times this. So if I replace that here, it's going to be mu P W by KT LT epsilon minus lambda. Right? Less than or equal. This is equal sign. So as long as the x considered from front of the contact patch, and this value is less than this, means what? The entire contact patch is in adjacent region. There is no sliding that takes place. So what I can do that, I can call this as my characteristic length. So whatever is there here is the characteristic. X is less than that of this value, the complete adhesion is ensured. That means I would have my variation till point A alone. So that is how I define my characteristic length. So I would have that written once again here. What is my LC now is mu p w by kt lt epsilon minus lambda. So that is my characteristic line. So let's call this equation as 1.12. Right? Any doubt in this? If you do not have any doubt, now what is the condition of addition? This LT should be less than or equal to LC. Less than or equal to LC. That means the entire addition is there. There is no initiation of sliding at the rear of the contact patch. That's the meaning if we have the condition LT is less than or equal to LC. So what is this condition? No sliding or complete adhesion. Complete adhesion region. So complete adhesion region means the maximum possible traction is corresponding to point A, and that value is FXC, critical value I will call it. And the corresponding slip value I will call it as IC. Right? So now if that is so, what is my tractive effort? I can rewrite that. I can put the value of this. So let me take equation 110. In that, let me replace x by LT. So that's going to be my Fx, which is going to be KT lambda LT. So x I'm replacing by LT. So epsilon into 1 plus x by 2 lambda. So that's going to be LT by 2 lambda. So this is now only for this condition. No sliding for this conditions, because I replace x by LT, and this expression LT is less than or equal to LC. When I say I assume that still that initiation of sliding not taking place, I would have to go for it. So my expression is limited now, this equation, only till point A. And I can see that here there are some constants that I group them and rewrite that as capital KT times epsilon. So what is capital KT? The remaining elements, KT, that is tangential stiffness, lambda, the portion of the length of the thread in front of contact under deformation, and LT is in bracket 1 plus LT by 2 lambda. So, right? So this is capital KT. So let's call this equation is 1.13, which you see in Wong textbook. So now, since this longitudinal strain, what is appearing here is the measure of the slip, measure of your longitudinal slip, right? The longitudinal compressive strain is measure of your slip, what that we have been looking at. I can replace now, right? Slip. It is concluded that if the entire contact patch is in adhesion region, the relationship between tractive force Fx and slip I is linear. That's what is happening in our graph, in this graph. So this entire thing is linear, right? And that corresponds to this point OA. Now, what is the condition for sliding at the rear edge of the contact patch? That's very important. So when the sliding would take place, that we have to look at it. And from that point onwards, the remaining derivation, we will do it at 11 o'clock during our lecture hour. And we will have our discussion of J component either on the coming Monday, right? By the time all of you would be into different groups. There are groups already generated. There are 4 groups till yesterday evening. I have not looked at this morning. Maybe there will be more groups formed. We will see that group formation happened this week completely. I would have one period dedicated on Monday to discuss on J component topics, and then you would accordingly choose, right? So not necessarily the topics that I float only you should do. You can also take up your topic. Some of them are listed in our syllabus copy itself. So you can also start doing it and then tell this is the topic that we are wanting to work on. So what is the expected work of the J component is more of literature reading and writing a review paper for the topic chosen, and that can be supported with the possible simulation or experimental work if time permits, as we are not able to be in the campus and online. So I would expect the requirement for J component of making a review paper. That is the reason why I have also increased the number of members in a group, so that there can be more students working for a common topic. There is quicker, faster reading and consolidation possible. And let us discuss what can be the framework or the template of any review paper writing of your topics, where we will have some discussion and I would guide you accordingly to proceed. So with that note, I will stop at this point of time, wherein we have just derived an expression and defined an important term called an characteristic length for our Julian Steyr model to account till O to A region, and what is the condition that is required to initiate the sliding at the rear of the contact pads is the starting point for the discussion at 11 o'clock lecture period. So I would stop at this point, this lecture, and you can proceed for the next class. I will stop recording.